I was gone for maybe 4 hours. Just a quick trip into town to pick up supplies, grab some feed, and check in on my aunt. When I pulled back into my driveway, I felt it. Something was off. Real off. My ranch was surrounded by orange plastic fencing. Big signs screamed in red and white. Property under HOA management. Trespassers will be fined. I blinked, thinking maybe someone made a mistake. This had to be a prank. But then I saw them. 3 people in high-vis vests standing near my barn like they owned the place. One of them, a tall guy with slicked-back hair and sunglasses he definitely didn't need, stepped forward holding a clipboard like he was the sheriff of some cowboy movie. "Sir," he said, cool as ice, "you're no longer authorized to operate on this property unless you agree to the HOA's rental terms." I laughed, actually barked out a laugh. This is my ranch. I bought it. It's mine. You can't just show up and declare a rent. His smirk, that slow, smug kind that makes your blood boil. "Actually, Mr. Carter, according to revised zoning ordinances and annexation policies, your property is now part of the High Meadow Lakes HOA. You may contest it, but until then, rent is due, $8,750 a month." I was speechless. My brain was trying to catch up with the insanity. My ranch, my land, had been claimed like some piece of abandoned furniture. Behind me, the horses were restless. The chickens were quiet. Even my dog, Jasper, stood still, ears back, growling low. I finally found my voice. "You're trespassing," I said, reaching for my phone. "I'm calling the sheriff." That's when they booted my tractor, like it was a car parked in a no-parking zone. Let me back up a little. 5 years ago, I bought a rundown ranch just outside a sleepy little town called Bramble Hollow in central Colorado. I'd poured everything I had into it, an inheritance from my dad, money I'd saved running a landscaping business in Denver, and every drop of energy left in me. I named it Willow Rise Ranch. It was meant to be my second chance. I fixed up the barn, planted rows of vegetables, adopted a few rescue animals, and even started weekend visits for kids with disabilities. It was quiet, peaceful, no traffic, no HOA drama. The closest HOA was 5 miles away, in a luxury subdivision called High Meadow Lakes. Fancy gated community, infinity pools, retirees with tiny dogs in strollers. It had nothing to do with me, or so I thought. Then the letters started. At first, they were worded like invitations. "Join us for a neighborhood planning session. We're exploring territorial growth." I laughed and tossed them. Then the tone changed. Suddenly, I was being reminded of alignment obligations, notified of upcoming assessments. I called the number. A woman named Claire assured me it was just informational. I wasn't so sure. I hired a land attorney. He looked it over and chuckled. "They're bluffing. You're zoned agricultural. They've got no jurisdiction. Unless they do something real stupid, you're fine." Turns out stupid was right around the corner. A few months later, I spotted a black SUV parked just outside my gate. A guy inside, with a map, asked if this was parcel 112B. I told him it was private property and he left. But I had that feeling. You know the one. The storm's about to hit, and you don't even have time to close the windows. Fast forward to the fencing, the clipboard crew, and the clipboard-wielding HOA guy telling me I now owed them rent. When I called the sheriff, he told me to stay calm and not escalate. There was a county festival that day, and they were short-staffed, so I sat. I stared at the wall for an hour, trying to process how any of this was real. Then I heard the truck. It was white, big, with High Meadow Lakes HOA printed right on the side. Two guys got out and started running bright orange wire across my field. When I stormed out to ask what the hell they were doing, one of them held up a permit. "Recreational boundary installation," he said like it was nothing. "You can continue farming if you pay rent and don't interfere." That's when I called Dean Foster, my lawyer. Gruff voice, dusty truck, smarter than everyone in the room. He came straight over, and together we laid every legal document I had across the hood of his F-150. Title deed, zoning map, everything. It was all airtight. "They're trying to annex," he muttered, "to inflate property values. But to do that legally, they need county approval and your signature." Which I never gave, except there it was, on a rezoning document filed 3 weeks prior. My forged signature, signed by someone named Claire Morrison, that same woman I spoke to months ago. Dean's eyes narrowed. They just made a big mistake. We filed a formal complaint for property fraud and requested an emergency injunction. But before the court date could be scheduled, things got worse. Way worse. A bulldozer showed up, not even joking. They rolled up, started drilling into my barn full of animals, and claimed they were building a game room for the HOA's wellness center. I ran in front of the machine and screamed, "There are animals inside!" That's when Dean arrived with the injunction, waving it like a war flag. But the driver had already made contact. My barn doors splintered, one of the beams cracked, and a whole section caved in. I ran inside, grabbed Buttercup, my therapy goat, and dragged her out, coughing in the dust, just as another beam crashed behind me. That barn wasn't just a building. It was the heart of everything I'd built. And they crushed it like it meant nothing. But I wasn't alone. By the next day, the whole town rallied. Ranchers, builders, neighbors I barely knew. Folks showed up with lumber, tools, trailers, even lunch. We rebuilt that barn together. And as we worked, we planned. Because this wasn't just about a barn. It was about fighting back. That's when we went public. Dean and I compiled evidence, photos, videos, even a confession from the bulldozer operator who was told the barn was vacant. We contacted a local news crew. The story went viral. Colorado rancher fights HOA land grab. Thousands of comments, donations, support from other farmers, and even a retired real estate investigator offering to help. But the HOA didn't back down. Oh no. They filed a public statement claiming I was trespassing on HOA-managed green space. They called my barn a common-use facility. Then they tried to classify my ranch as a recreational landmark, which would give them authority to restrict everything, from planting to hosting events. And then they tried to evict me, filed a notice with the county court claiming I was an unauthorized occupant. I laughed out loud, but Dean didn't. "They don't care if it's legal," he said. "They just want to wear you down. Thing is, I don't wear down easy." Then came the real kicker. A local reporter handed us a leaked internal spreadsheet from someone inside the HOA. Dozens of parcels, dozens of fake signatures, and next to mine, a note that read, "Fast track, parcel 112B, high value, minimize resistance." That's when I realized I wasn't some accidental victim. I was targeted because my land connected to a future golf resort they were secretly planning. My ranch wasn't just a nuisance. It was the crown jewel of their expansion plan. So we sued. We named the HOA, the president, the woman who forged my signature, even the shady consultant who filed the permits. Fraud, trespassing, property destruction, emotional distress, you name it. And then, the day of reckoning. The courtroom was packed, cameras everywhere. The judge, tough as nails, asked for evidence. The HOA brought their signed documents. Dean brought everything else. The whistleblower files, a forensic handwriting analysis, witness statements, proof of fraud. The judge didn't even hesitate. She ruled in our favor, declared all HOA claims null and void, ordered them to cease operations on my land, fined them for damages, recommended the entire HOA board be reviewed by the state attorney general. We won, not just for me, but for every farmer, every homeowner, every person who's ever felt powerless against people with money and lawyers. That weekend, we had a celebration at Willow Rise. Buttercup wore a soda cap medal. Elsie, the little girl who comes to brush the goats every Saturday, stood on a hay bale and said, "Mr. Carter didn't give up. He stayed, he fought, and he won." And yeah, maybe I cried a little, but if there's one thing I hope you take away from this, it's this. You don't need power to stand your ground. You just need courage. So tell me, have you ever had to fight an HOA or stood up to something bigger than you? Share your story down in the comments. Let's talk about it. Because the only way we win is together.